Army Ranger Lead the Way Fund Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit, is an active duty casualty assistance, recovery, transition, and veterans organization that provides financial support beyond what the government and veteran affairs can offer to U.S. Army Rangers and their families of those who have died, have been disabled, or who are currently serving in harm's way around the world. It is up to us to lead them back. Support Army Ranger Lead the Way Fund to help ease these costly burdens and vital living expenses. Our son, Jimmy Regan, would be the first to give, and he was, in honor of Sergeant James J. Regan, killed in action, Iraq, February 9, 2007. Jim and Mary Regan. John Wendling and I were classmates and teammates at Duke University. John, who lives in the Denver area, decided to climb 9 14ers, which are peaks north of 14,000 feet, on the way leading up to 9/11. He accomplished this goal and raised awareness and funds for the Lead the Way Fund. I hope you enjoy our conversation. This is John's story. We're live, bro. Feels like the first time is like, say it again with respect to Quandary.
Yeah, so Quandary is the first 14er I hiked, having moved to Colorado in 2010. And I did it with my golden retriever, Connor, and getting back on that mountain. I hadn't been back since then, so I picked it as the first for that reason, knowing what it was, and it just felt right to kick things off.
It was like the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at the lyrics, it's like, this works. Let's get
Climb
things
any
going.
mountain, cross any sea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna go out and do something special here.
But like you said that, well, the first time you climbed Quandary was when you moved out to Colorado about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, almost to the day.
And
yeah,
you'd take John Wendling at 40 over 30. The 40-year-old would win.
Roughly. Yeah, I think so. I think so, to be honest.
I saw like maybe that picture and then this picture. It's like, I just commented, you look lean, bro. Look lean and mean.
Yeah, trying to maintain my fitness as I get older.
Yeah. You said do some martial arts. Did you Taekwondo? Is that right?
No, it's Muay Thai.
Okay.
Muay Thai, and then heavy bag kickboxing class where that's where you're more in your own head. You're working your combos, you're working your technique.
Yeah.
You're trying to deepen your cardio, kind of, really get after it, the rounds that you're doing, embrace the suck, embrace the instructor.
Yeah.
That, by this time they all know me, getting on you a little bit.
Yeah.
And showing you a little extra, something you can add, ways to make things more difficult, better technique. It's good. It's a good thing to go do. It's high impact, but yet in my view, it's low impact because you're not going out and running, 5, 8, 10 miles or something.
Yes.
I'll go in for a 45-minute bag class. I'll do an hour of Muay Thai, come home soaking wet. So it's good.
Sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
Get up and do it again.
Sure. I love all the body weight stuff.
Yeah.
I lift some weights, but not as much as we used to, right?
Well, that's like it's a good thing about hiking. It's like you're out there in Colorado. It's a little bit different landscape than you're out in Colorado, a little different landscape than Ohio. And you got into hiking sort of right away. And so John Wendling, welcome to the Pillars podcast. And John just climbed a bunch of mountains, 14ers out in Colorado, to raise money for the Lead the Way Fund, the Army Ranger Lead the Way Fund. And you did what, 9 peaks in 11 days?
Yeah, the theme was 9 and 11 for the 20th anniversary of 9/11
It's cool.
to honor those that have served, those that have fallen in their service or wounded in service. You know, Army Ranger Lead the Way Fund probably deserves some explanation. It's not my fund or foundation, but it is near and dear to both Bill and I, having had a former teammate that was a Ranger that passed away.
Jimmy Regan.
Jimmy Regan.
He was
Sergeant.
Yes. Yep. He was 2 years above us, right?
Correct. He was class of 02
Yep.
from Manhasset, New York on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And great player, great teammate, super smart guy. And yeah, he was, you talk to his dad, who's so gracious, you know, will spend 30, 45 minutes with you on the phone. Very curious, wants to know about people, their lives. He clearly loves serving others. You know, they started the fund in 07 after Jimmy died in Iraq. So Duke Lacrosse still honors Jimmy in a very significant way. And I just felt that I hadn't been able to participate in a lot of the Lead the Way Fund events because just proximity mostly. I was either living in Columbus or Denver. Denver made it more difficult, but hadn't participated in some of the runs or fundraising events. But this year around the 4th of July, kind of looking ahead to 9/11, 20th anniversary, it just, time moves so quickly, yet if you think of all the things that have gone on since, the time is there, you know, the time is, it occurred, right? Like you can account for it, but
dude,
in our minds, it moves fast.
remember we were all in the same dorm together
I know.
on 9/11.
Correct. Our sophomore year.
You and Lee Scandalaris. Like,
yep.
I think
Yep,
I was
living.
up. I think
I was at class.
You were at class. I think Lee was still sleeping. Mr. Scandalaris calls the dorm. I answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just like turning the TV on. Something really bad is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah, really wild. I'll never forget that day. It was funny, and Bill, you'll appreciate this, knowing just kind of how guys razzed me in college. But I went to my econ class on a Tuesday and needed an oil change in my Chevy Tahoe. So I took the Tahoe down to Rick Hendrick Chevrolet, which ties into the NASCAR theme of my college years. And normally when you pull up to a dealership into the service department, there's people there. They're walking around, they greet you. What do you need? What's going on? There's no one there. And I had actually kind of searched for personnel, and I did not know what had happened. I think both towers had already been hit, but neither had fallen at that time. And I walk into like the waiting room where there's a TV, and it's like probably everyone that worked there and some customers were all glued to the television. And it took me a little while to catch up and see it and go, what? You know, you're just so confused. It catches you so off guard.
It's like a movie. It's like they got a rerun of, like, I don't know, a volcano movie, or, you know, some of buildings collapsing. But it's like, no, that's not, it's like green screen. That's the real news.
I know. And the first time I saw the trade towers was my freshman year at Duke, when we went and played in the fall tournament. Remember, we bussed up there and we came through a tunnel and you could see Manhattan. I'd never seen it before. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Been to plenty of cities, not that one. It's a different ball game. So yeah, 9 14ers, 11 days, 4-9-11 to try to raise money and awareness for Lead the Way Fund. Something that I hadn't done directly, like an event. I'd given money to Lead the Way, but had never participated in something like that where you try to push yourself to some limit.
Yeah.
And kind of asking people to give money and then follow along. So
you did that, man. You raised great money for the great cause, Lead the Way. How did you get the word out there? Email. I loved your email. You gave updates via email almost every day as to your climbs and preview what's to come. Did you use any social media, or does it kind of just word of mouth and like friend groups and network?
Yeah, I had an email list that I worked hard to accumulate.
It's hard to do. That's tough. It takes time.
Emails are tricky today because people just mostly text.
Yeah.
And text, I'll tell you, I tried texting, it didn't work. It was like getting the email set up and then getting the fundraising page set up and then just starting to like push the information to people and provide some entertainment value, give them some money or give them value for their money, beyond obviously the value of the charity.
Yeah.
I felt like it was important for me to not just say, hey, I'm going to go out and do this thing, right? That maybe you understand or don't understand. A lot of people probably didn't.
Right.
And then giving them day by day recaps with not just information about the hike or about me or what happened that day, but also providing information about Lead the Way Fund, kind of reminding people, what they're giving to and how it helps soldiers, families, all of that. So I felt like it needed to be, I was doing it, yes, as it was beneficial to me personally. Like the experience was unbelievable. I'll carry it with me forever. But that's not like why I did it. Right. So I couldn't make it just about that. That'd be a bad idea, I think.
Well, you conveyed your experience. It's not like you sent the email. You got some supporters. They might have given, they might have not given, and you check back in a month or something. You kind of gave the blow by blow, day by day. You conveyed the experience, like I'm trying to say, through email. And it's like it could be imagined that like whoever else, supporters on the email thing, were climbing it with you. And when you're done with it, you wrote these like, well, crap, you're a good writer. Vivid. Like I always think that if you're really into something, it kind of just flows. Whatever it is kind of effortless. And you can almost tell that you're pretty passionate about the fund, what happened on July 4th, and with Jimmy, also leading up to 9/11, 20 years and stuff like that. And you made some noise by pounding dirt, by pounding rock, climbing those 14ers miles away from Manhasset, where they had their run,
Sure.
And
yeah.
And
that's probably good. If I had to guess, it's a good, it's probably almost 2,000 miles. Manhasset to the parts of Colorado where I was hiking.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that vicinity.
I'd say north of that. I drove from, no, it's probably right, I think. Yeah.
Well, it's 1250 from Columbus to Denver. And then you got to add whatever Columbus to Long Island is.
They said there would be
probably 600. and then another 80 or so. I'll tell you, Bill. I gotta give kudos to my wife.
Yes, Heidi.
for supporting me in this effort. Like her support, our support was monetary, but her support to me to make this possible is invaluable. And I had to lay out exactly what I was going to do on what days. Weather be damned. Fortunately, the weather was good. The first two hikes were the most threatening, but I was still safe. And I was actually gearing up in the morning, Camelback, some other supplies, energy stuff to gel packs, honey stingers. No, I'm not sponsored by them or anything. No purposeful shout outs here. But you get all that together, get on my gear, got the hiking shoes, my trail runners, and I would take the kids to school some days and then go to drive to the trailhead, hike the mountain, get back in my truck and drive and pick the kids up from school.
Holy smokes.
So,
they have
that
to drive
was
you home.
That was the first day, Quandary.
Yeah.
The second day, Grays and Tories. And then let's see. Yeah, that was actually those 2 days. And then after I finished Mount Elbert, I drove down and picked them up. And yeah, I was glad to be seated for that drive from Leadville. So yeah.
And any cramps while driving?
No Charlie horses while driving.
That'd be the worst. I mean, I've had my fair share of cramps, but never behind the wheel.
Well, I've seen them.
Knock on wood. Yeah, right.
I've seen you cramp up.
You lock up a little bit there, John?
One thing that some people expressed like a level of concern, and it never even crossed my mind, but they're probably right, is wait a second, you're going out and doing these by yourself? It's like, yeah, it's daylight, like weather's fine, whatever. They're like, right, but what if something goes wrong? Like, what if you get hurt? What if you're 2/3 of the way up this thing and you get hurt? Then what? It's like, well, it's a good question. I don't know. And it didn't happen. So let's not necessarily think in that way.
So it didn't happen. So it doesn't really, I didn't get hurt.
Real.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to get hurt. And if I did, is it 23 hours when the guy like gets stuck and cuts his arm off or something? You know that movie I'm talking about?
128 hours with James Franco.
Yeah. And I've seen that movie. So he survives, I can survive. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So you're going for a hike. It's how most these 14ers, how long would it take to go from trailhead to back to trailhead?
It varies on the distance and the terrain. The shortest hike in time was about 2.5 hours, and the longest was over 5.
Yeah,
and that was Mount Massive. 5 hours
Mount
of
Massive.
moving.
Lives up to its name. 5 hours of moving. It was going up harder or going down harder?
Going up is always hard.
Yeah, fighting gravity.
It's just work. Yeah, it's work. But the descent is where your legs burn.
Jelly legs, golly. I know. Yeah, they say sometimes coming down large mountains. People talk about like with Everest. You ascend, you get there, but that's like half the thing. Getting down is treacherous as all get out, and also your legs are totally fatigued, which makes it
that's absolutely right. I mean, and I knew Quandary well.
Yeah.
And sorry, I had to
Fine.
adjust my camera here.
Haven't skipped a beat.
So Quandary, I knew it, and the way that the Quandary's the more. Okay, so there's a group of volunteers in Colorado that hike up and maintain these trails, or even they try to make the trail more obvious or more
Mhm.
safe. So they
Yes.
create they like there was a crew while I was hiking Elbert that was creating more of a better switchback terrain
Yeah.
above tree line.
Mhm.
So these folks show up, they might be camping, they may not. I don't know precisely what they do, but they volunteer and they go out and they like work at 13,000 feet in complete, exposure to the sun and help maintain these trails. So there's better footing and it's safer for people. So Quandary is extremely popular. It's so popular, they're now charging to park at the trailhead and they're running a shuttle out of Breckenridge
Yeah.
to get there. So it costs some money if you want to park like right at the trailhead. And that trail's, I'll call it more forgiving. Um, it's more inspiring, I guess, like each step. So I hiked it up and
More
there's
inspiring for
clouds.
you. All right, you're talking about
Inspiring in terms of each step, like the
as
quality of your footing, right?
interesting.
So some of it, like you're on aggregate or it's just kind of raw. Things are breaking loose. They're sliding under you. A rock will want to tumble downhill and you step on it and you could just,
Inspiring means like firm ground or good
correct,
terrain.
correct. Yeah.
Cool.
You have more confidence in your footing, your steps. But I had to really bust it up the mountain. There was basically this black cloud that sort of moved in and was sort of hovering. One of the photos I took showed that as I was heading up to the summit. And I got up there, nothing really happened. And fortunately, the winds kind of pushed it off. But I had to hustle down. And this is where 29-year-old John versus 39-year-old John comes into play. My legs felt better. And I more or less like, you're in like a light jog, kind of hopping, stepping, finding footing. But I more or less like kind of ran down and back to my truck. I felt really good, stretched out, like whatever. And then the soreness doesn't always hit you immediately. Sometimes it creeps in the next day. I have always found when you really let your body have it, it's like 2 days later.
Yeah.
It's maybe 36 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm supposed to go hike Grays and Torreys, which was a longer hike, more elevation, 2 summits across the saddle. By the way, I only counted that as 1.5 in the 9. But the most soreness I was dealing with was at the front end of this exercise. It was mostly in my quads. It's impossible to work out and simulate that descent. So you just kind of have to do it. And keep doing it and ignore what your body's trying to tell you.
It's like lacrosse. It's like you can't simulate playing lacrosse. I mean, if you go run distance, I mean, sure, not really. Even if you do sprints, it's like really hard to simulate. Maybe if you did some like crazy CrossFit stuff, but I don't think when we play there's much of a thing as CrossFit.
No.
But anyway, it also, I remember it's always the line. I'm like, I'm really sore. What do I do? Do I like stretch? He's like, the best way to get rid of soreness is to work it out. It's like, thanks.
Blood flow.
The last thing I want to do,
I know. I can barely like, I was Bill, I was literally having to hold on to the railing to come down the stairs in my house.
Yeah. It's like the first time you do squats.
I'm like,
and in high school, can't even sit on a toilet to hover.
I know, man.
Like an old man coming down the stairs.
So Bill, what you said is absolutely true. Like I just had to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this. This is the plan. Like just you're not injured. You're not hurt. It just it hurts, but you're not hurt. So keep going. Just go do it.
You're hurt. A presser is like, is there a difference between hurt and injured?
Yes.
It's like I bumped my elbow the other day on the door. It hurts. I walk across the street and like somebody hits me with a bike and I, crack my knee on the sidewalk. I'm injured.
Right. Yeah. Can you Can you play or can you not play? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So you,
I
yeah.
was rolling. I was like rolling my quads.
Mm-hmm.
I did an ice bath after every single hike just so I was ready, or was kind of helping myself be ready
Mm-hmm.
for the next one. Uh, just keep your toes out of the water and it's fine.
You used to wear like those little booties, right?
Yeah,
At
yeah.
Duke,
When we would ice our ankles. Yeah,
smoking Joe
yeah.
Ferraro.
That's
I
right.
used to, yeah, you
That's
used to
right.
put like these little neoprene things over your toes and all.
Yeah, it was like a wetsuit for your toes.
Correct. I was over. I
Yeah.
was more of a fan of the hot tub.
Absolutely.
Who's not? Yeah. But so you kept on keeping on. You Quandary. Then the next two were harder than Quandary, correct?
Yeah, longer Grays and Tories,
Grays and
which
Tories.
is it's a beautiful hike along. You're on the Continental Divide Trail. It's interesting. I was on the Continental Divide Trail more than once, so like you kind of get a sense. Like some hikers like blaze this trail, and you can hike it across the mountain ranges.
Mm-hmm.
It all sort of connects through, which is awesome. Like I was on the Continental Divide Trail at Mount Elbert, but I was also on it at Grays and Torreys. And if you look at where they are geographically, they're disparate. They're an hour apart driving.
Mm-hmm.
As the crow flies, maybe more like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that. But um, yeah, so Grays and Torreys were next. They have like a really beautiful, they're pretty much not distant, but like equal height, equal elevation.
Yeah.
And the saddle between them is very consistently shaped.
Yeah.
It actually, I think it almost looks like a necklace. Like when you'd go to put like a necklace on, like you could kind of set your face in it.
Yeah.
But that I counted as 1.5 because do it. Gray's first, Tori's second.
You climb one, then hit the saddle, and got the other one, right?
Correct, and then
Yeah.
descend.
I give you one. I give you 1.5 for that.
Yeah.
1.5.
I mean, it could have just been one.
No.
But that would
1.5.
But yeah, that was great. It was cold. That was the coldest day. In terms of the hiking, I still pretty much wore the same gear because if you're moving, if you're going,
yeah.
like I was wearing sleeves not only to keep some heat in,
yeah,
but also to keep the sun off.
Yeah.
Wearing my hat, right?
Yeah.
But shorts, trail runners. It was cool. Like as I was on the summit at Gray's, there were some other folks up there. Some folks from different parts of the country, like Kansas or forget where.
Yeah.
Maybe Indiana that day. But anyway, sea level type folks that come out. It's like a huge deal to them. And they did it. They're up there. So it's always like really good feeling with people. People are always happy. They're trying to find their air. They're drinking some water. They're eating a snack, taking photos. It's really similar, but everyone's always willing to talk. You're taking pictures of each other. I actually learned a neat panoramic photo trick from a friend when we were mountain biking in Crested Butte in August. And basically, if you think about how the panoramic iPhone works, your group or a person starts on the left side of the photo, right? And that you move like this with the pano. So the idea is the person taking the picture has to pace themselves, but they start and they say, okay, and they start moving. And when the people are out of the frame, they say, okay, go. And you run around behind them. So you're not running through the picture. You run around behind them and you come around the other side.
And you meet the pano at the end or something?
On the right side.
On the other side.
You're in your own picture twice, right?
That's cool.
It's hilarious. And the guys, I taught them this. I was like, okay, do this. So they got like the cardboard with the Gray's Peak.
Elevation
the elevation. And there's a guy holding it and they're kind of looking the one way or whatever. and then they run around behind me and they're all looking back like the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it turned out pretty good.
They're kind of looking at they're looking at themselves.
Yeah, kind of like, yeah, looking back
like
at
like a mirror.
But it's the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same people. It's really trippy to look at.
I believe it.
When you see the picture. But the clouds were like right on us. Like
clouds are great for photos.
My photos and stuff I was showing as I'm starting to hike and I'm, you know, working my way up the trail, was both peaks had clouds completely covering them.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, I'm gonna be you hike like right up into them. Yeah. And what's so interesting is when you're in it, you can see and it's like fine.
Yeah.
But when you're away from it, like you can't see. It's really
it looks like a cloud, but you're in it. It's just like it seems moist. It seems damp.
Hazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Hazy.
Yeah. When you're up close to a cloud, there are no people living on top of clouds, even though I always thought there might be when I was younger. It would be so cool though. But
like Super Mario. Or something.
Yes, the cloud people, marshmallow men. So you climb, you talk with these people, you teach them a little pano trick, and you're inspiring and you're putting smiles on faces and you're telling them about what you're doing.
Sure.
Is one thing clicking and paying, and then but you're like, you know, you're out there spreading the good news. Like it's so cool, and you're making people's days better, and that's what Jimmy would love, and that's what like a lot of charities are about. It's just putting good into the world.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah. So I tried to stay like really humble about when I would tell people, like they'd say, "Oh, are you a ranger?" I'd say, "No, I'm not a ranger, but I'm raising money for rangers to Lead the Way Fund." I kind of explain it. And I go, I'm hiking 9 of these in 11 days, 9 14ers in 11 days. And I mean, people are like, yeah, I'll do like 1 a year. Right. And then like
check it off the bucket list.
Yeah. They're like, we made this trip just to do this like one. And it's, you know, and that's a big deal. Of course it is. Like, but I'm on my 6th or what, you know what I mean? Like I'm like knee deep in this thing. And it was really interesting. Like people were sort of like thinking about it and processing it. You could tell, like, could I just keep doing these like day after day? Yeah, you probably can if you just freaking tie your shoes on and go do it. I think of David Goggins. That guy, the things he does makes what I look like I was playing in a baby pool or something. But he talks about the mornings where he's going to go run like long distances and work out and train. And he said that he'll just sit and stare at his shoes and like not want to put them on. And I don't know if you're
like
okay with swearing, but I'm going to quote him. He goes, I think he was talking to Joe Rogan or something, but he goes, "Joe, I always put those motherfuckers on. Go run." Yeah.
If you look at your, like, it's very human. I think we all sort of experience that. The first step is the hardest, kind of figurative and literal. But at the end of the thing, it's like, what's your track record? What are you batting? Like, I don't think I've ever, I mean, I'm not saying I'm superhuman, or I don't think I'm the exception. Said, you know what? No, I'm not gonna, or I'm running and I'm not gonna finish the 3 miles that I'm doing. I'm gonna stop at 2 miles. Almost like I remind myself of, like, my track record is 1,000. I'm batting 1,000. I've always finished the run. You know, I've usually always put the shoes on and go work out. So just can do it, you know, but it's so human and real and correct for me anyway. And I think for a lot of people, just like, I should respond to this email or two, or I gotta like go pick up some dog dew in the yard, or Heidi or my mom really wants me to replace this light bulb, and you're just procrastinating, you know.
No, it's
then when you get out there and you start doing it, you're just like, what was I even thinking? This is awesome, you know.
For sure. We're built to struggle, like challenge ourselves. And our bodies can do so much more than we want to give it credit for.
The mind is
What I actually found interesting is I would feel like something kind of going on in like my left knee, or maybe kind of in like my ankle, like maybe I stepped funny once. It's like, oh, that kind of feel, like,
yeah.
I hope I don't have to feel that the rest of this hike. And you just keep going, and it's like it fades away.
Yeah, it kind of goes away.
Like cramping, like you can get over it. Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta sort of keep, not
Such
like
a good point. Such a
not
good point.
not like the cramping where your muscles tighten up to a
Lack of
rock, but I mean like
water and
in
potassium.
your
Yeah.
gut. Yeah. So
It's the difference between hurt and injured. It's like sometimes people you overthink it, and like you said, just get out and you might be a little nicked up, but sometimes you just got to push through it, and it goes away miraculously. I'm like, how did that happen?
yeah.
Like I had a knot in my calf, and I was like, I think I should just take the day off or something. And maybe I'll just go try a run. And then the next day it's like, it's gone. And it's like it's counterintuitive. It's like, what? You're supposed to rest to get better. I got like a little Achilles thing going on. It's been like really tender. I think I got bad shoes, truthfully. I think I got skunky Under Armour shoes recently. That's just like messing with my Achilles. But now I'm at the point now. I'm like,
fuck. I thought you were gonna tell me you're wearing Skechers.
Yeah, yeah, those are all worn down, So they're in the mail. So anyway, any peak? What was the hardest? You have the hard one of was the first
hardest was
massive.
Well, no. I would say massive was the hardest.
Yeah,
because it was the longest. It was almost 17 miles.
Jeez, peasy. That was like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, that was one that took. My actual moving time on my Garmin Connect with GPS was over 5 hours. The total hike was around 6.
Moving pretty good.
And yeah, as I wrote in one of my emails, I think the threshold to really test your fitness on one of these is to try to average above 3 miles an hour. And the more distance, the better chance you've got. My friend Mike and I were really close to that on Bierstadt. We probably could have gotten there if we would have known like in real time what we were averaging, but you don't really have that statistic present.
Yeah.
Technically. So we were just under 3 on that, but we literally ran off of that mountain and down. So if you think about it, you're spending more time and you're going slower on the ascent. Like this is just the reality.
Yes. Yes.
Versus the descent, what you can do. So the descent has to be that much faster to compensate for the speed on the ascent. And I don't think the whole moving time thing is totally precise. Like, I think if you're kind of farting around on the peak and taking pictures, you're moving. So you kind of have to overcome maybe a little bit of that as well. But 3 miles an hour is busting it. I mean, you're at elevation, and massive. I was intermittently running. I would run through because you spend a ton of time in the forest.
Yeah.
A little up in the forest, not on the steeper stuff. No.
Coming down, running downhill is tough on the knees. Yeah.
Yeah, in the quads.
And the quads. There's something they say that like, if you're running downhill, like the impact is like, I don't know, a crazy number times a normal impact running on flat ground.
Sure.
It's like 100 times the impact on the knee or something, like depending on the grade,
Yeah.
But anyway,
well, the key for me was to try to land, even going downhill, was trying to run a little pigeon-toed and land on the balls of my feet.
Yeah, on your
rather
toes,
than
spring.
heels.
Yeah.
Well, you get better traction, and you're also kind of like, you're just in a better, like, I think, posture that way. So instead of kind of like leaning back and letting gravity just hammer you, you're controlling yourself more. But Mount Massive was the hardest. I'm glad I did it before Elbert, though. I think if I would have done Elbert and then had to turn around and do Massive, that would have been pretty intense. The Elbert hike was about the same elevation. So Elbert was about 4,700, Mount Massive was 4,800. They're next door to each other. So looking up at Mount Massive and Elbert, looking up at them from the town of Leadville, I mean, they are just so obvious and imposing. They're huge. Massive has the most mass of any 14er in Colorado above 14,000 feet.
What do you mean mass? Like just size,
the
sheer
rock,
size?
Yes. Like it's volume of rock or whatever above 14,000 is more than any other 14er in the state.
How many are there in the state? Sorry.
54.
Okay.
There's 54 14ers in Colorado.
You're gonna keep going you keep going next year?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be this or something else. There's a lot of people that do cycling, mountain biking, or trail running over like ultra type stuff over really long distances. That is really freaking impressive. I was talking to Mr. Regan, Bill. He said that Chase Stock, who is a senior when we were freshmen, right? Yeah. He runs ultras.
Yeah.
Now.
I saw some post that he put up there of like running over 100 miles. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It took him 23 hours of running.
Yep.
Wow. That's a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps. It's a lot of miles that go into that you're putting out into the world, to make a difference. If he, I don't know if he, I bet he did dedicate the run to Jim. I think he did. Yeah, he did it right around the Regan run or whatever. Not whatever.
What I was thinking about, Bill, is we're alive. We're here, okay, and we're doing these things to like remind ourselves of maybe our mortality, I suppose. I could have just gone out and leisurely hiked these mountains with no care about time or effort. Like you can just go do them. None of the peaks I hiked required anything technical, no ropes, no special gear. It's more or less a foot in front of the other, maybe a little hands and feet, a little scrambling, but not much. So in doing it, I had the way, I think the best way to sort of like remind yourself of why you're doing it and the people that you're doing it for and the way that they've served us, our military, all those brave people. How can you not do it with like an element of suffering or pain? Because that's what these people do for us, right? So it's a way of, I think, truly honoring them is to make it hard, to make it a test. To otherwise, it's like, yeah, the money's there, you raise the money, and that's all well and good. But I think it adds another like element for the person like doing it to properly reflect upon what folks went through, the training they went through, the combat, the horrors they might have faced. There's so many things that go into being in the military and ensuring our freedom that if you're not reflecting on those things and saying, okay, I don't feel good. Like this kind of stinks. Now it was beautiful, and that is a huge enhancement. And the summiting is always a payoff. There's like a euphoria, both in terms of how you feel physically and then just like being there.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't suck, if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not making it uncomfortable, I'm not sure you're maybe like properly honoring those that went through very traumatic situations or died in their service to us. So that,
I think it's a
yeah,
more of a powerful powerful instrument of getting awareness out there, and um, arming and deploying, to kind of play with those terms, um, this really awesome charity of Lead the Way Fund,
yeah,
because I think it's sometimes hard for people to look away from people that are doing things that are hard. People are like, what?
yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
you're doing 9 and 11 days. I just want to do one this year or one on the bucket list.
yeah,
There is an element of awe of just like, I don't quite understand this, but people going through suffering or doing things that are difficult. And I
hmm
think
hmm
there's a efficacy, or I always mess that word up, effectiveness, or it's effective in ginning up support, and in the form of like donation, and in the form of gratitude, um, when you do things that are hard and you get through them, and people kind of they notice it, and it's like, I keep saying it, like putting love into the world, by example, and it's a lot. I don't know if you can do it as effectively, uh, without an element of suffering. And as you said very aptly, it's extraordinary support. I mean, the line of Lead the Way Fund, right, is extraordinary sacrifice deserves extraordinary support. You
yep,
know,
yep.
that's
It's a great way
extraordinary
to put it.
support. It's not just support; it's extraordinary support. You know,
Sure.
getting your ass up and down these big blocks of granite or whatever they are out there. Continental
Yeah,
Continental Ridge.
yep, the Continental Divide. Yeah, it was a fantastic experience, and met some folks along the way that were aware of Lead the Way. I met a ranger
Yeah,
after I did Democrat Cameron Lincoln and part of Bross. Um, so yeah, no, it was a great journey. Um, I do kind of wonder maybe what the next thing could be.
love it.
Um, we'll see.
Yeah, we
You know,
got
I,
time.
I
We
don't
got
want to be,
time.
I don't want to be a show. I'm not going to be a show off. I mean, it's just about, again, that awareness and support, something that people can't look away from. I'll tell you also, Bill, I'm not intimately aware of all the things that my former teammates, Duke lacrosse players are doing or up to, but it's a remarkable group of men, and it's very inspiring. And like we mentioned, Chase Stock, I mean, Ben Fenton lives up in Boulder. He's like fitness savage.
Yeah.
Um,
Will
you know,
McDonald's up north in
yeah,
Montana.
like, yeah, all these guys are, out there. We're in our communities, we're doing different things. I think we all have like this mindset similar to Jimmy, or at least maybe we can take a cue from him. I think he felt like if he wasn't going to go do this for his country, then like who should?
Yeah.
We should all be doing something for our community, for our country, for those we love and care about, making, where we live, where our children live, uh, um, where our families are, a better place. I mean, I try to be like, if I have the time, like I try to be the first person to raise my hand and say, hey, I'll help out on that service project, or,
Yeah. Yeah.
help at the kids' school, or, volunteer money or time, and just try to, you know, be positive, be additive,
It'd be
not,
additive. I like
not,
that.
yeah, not, you know,
Divisive.
not just, yeah, sit at home and
Effective. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
on the internet or
Yeah.
social media. I think going out and connecting with real people in a real way is still how we're built, still how we're wired. I mean, who knows, like all this technological advancement, humans, I suppose, could somehow kind of evolve away from that in a way, but
Yeah.
there hasn't been enough time,
Yeah.
right, for us change. And I think you get the most out of yourself. I think I'm most, I have the most, I give thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the most, I have the most gratitude when I meet someone, we have a great conversation, I learn something about them or whatever, life, and you make this connection, you've made eye contact, you're present, you're with people. That's more inspiring, I think, more lasting than hitting like a like button.
Oh
As
yeah.
cool as some people's posts and social media
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be, like I think it's more
This
fulfilling.
and
Yeah.
this is going to be a really cool post when I post it. But you're absolutely right. Like, and that's what you did. You went out for long walks, at altitude, climbing big things of rock, and it's like one of the best things you could do is just get out of the house and go for a walk, and smile and talk to people. And you so happen to be doing it for an awesome cause. So keep doing it, man.
Here's another thing that I'll throw out there
Yeah.
is I laid out my plan, and I'd hiked the mountains before, some of them. I knew what I was up against in a way. But I was like, can I do this many consecutively? Like, am I gonna wear down? Am I gonna, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But having created the plan, creating a level of accountability with people that are supporting me and lead the way. You go out and you do it. And I think if I think CrossFit is kind of designed to be this way. I would say going and training martial arts is this way. I look back at my football and like lacrosse careers, it's this way. You would show up to practice, you show up to your training, and you don't always know what it's going to be exactly. You just know that you're going to be in the right mindset, you're going to go and you're going to do the work. And I think if folks can find something that where they don't really have a choice, like you just go, you just show up with the right mindset and ready to do the work on schedule, and make it interesting, make it something that's interesting to you, that's like makes it worthwhile. um, you're gonna do it more, maybe more often and harder or further than maybe you thought before, if that makes
It
sense.
makes perfect sense. And
So
you say it very well. It's infinitely true. Show up. Number one, show up. Okay. That might be half the ballot or something. It's really important. But to show up and do something that is in line with your soul, that makes you happy, that is in line with like the talents that God has given you or that you've sort of developed over your life. You put those two together and you're unstoppable. And that's like the whole idea of like find something that you love to do and it's not work. And but showing, yeah, just get out there, and yeah, man.
in
Good.
Bill, in college, I surprised myself. Do you remember a liberal arts education undergrad at Duke? We had the matrix. We had to kind of, check certain boxes of
Yeah.
courses that we took that had certain content, right? And a way of learning. And I dreaded certain classes. And then I'd get into them and be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like there were some literature courses that I did really well in and really enjoyed. But I was kind of doubtful, sort of in my own head. I was playing tricks on myself
Mm-hmm.
of whether or not I would actually enjoy the material, the subject, the
Yeah.
reading, the writing. I was an econ major. I want to do economics or math or finance, whatever, accounting. But I look back and say to myself, you may have interest more than in certain things more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a try and see what
Mm-hmm.
it's all about, and
Mm-hmm.
you may love it. And if you do, now you found something that you didn't know about yourself or about like the world. So I think traveling gives you perspective in that way also.
It's
I've
the
never
ultimate.
been,
It's the ultimate walk. You went
yeah,
for long walks up mountains. I went for a long walk yesterday, walking the dog for about an hour. It's amazing that you do that. And like, I wasn't depressed or anything, but I just did that, and it's just a natural euphoria. Just I felt better. I ran into a friend of mine that I didn't know would be walking his dog. We walked for an hour and talked. And excuse me. And then you take that to the next level is you travel and you talk to people of different places and different experiences and different cultures and
yep.
And you're cool with that and you're cool with yourself and you just what an experience, man. So we've talked for about 45 minutes, brother, and I hope that the people out there get out there and go for a walk and smile and or somewhat are inspired by what you did. All I did was sit here and listen and talk a little bit. I didn't climb all these mountains, but if you wanted to continue to give, or you wanted to give to John's cause or Lead the Way Fund, there's a way to do that, right?
Yeah, there is, and we can put a link to where folks can go.
I'll put a link up there
onto your website or into the notes under the video. Happy to do that. You can give to Lead the Way Fund directly. You could reference 9 in 11 if you want to.
Huh.
I have to give a special shout out to Mr. James Regan, Jimmy's father. I reached out to Lead the Way in August, early August, about a month before I started this, and said, is this something that I can do? Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to use your name, your foundation, without your permission, obviously. So I am so thankful that they trusted me to do this and to spread the good word and be what's the word I'm looking for?
An ambassador.
Bill? An ambassador. That's a good way to put it, for Lead the Way. And I hope, to do this again and in maybe some other fashion, let the creative juices flow. But without that level of trust and support kind of in reverse, and just such a, like, Mr. Regan had intrigue, not necessarily something that he's done, but he got it. He knew right exactly what it was that I was sort of wanting to do and make it unique and interesting and really like a real way of honoring Jimmy and others, that I would be remiss if I didn't express gratitude and thanks to Mr. Regan and Lead the Way Fund in that way.
So well said, man. It's very humble of you to say that. It's very humble and a gentleman of you. You must have been raised well. to even think that, like, yeah, I'm gonna give all this time, this energy, and raise money for you guys. Are you okay with that? Did they have any hesitance, or be like, or there was just a
No,
go for it? Yeah. But it's just
not really. They said, oh my gosh, that's how, because I explained what it was.
Yeah.
I said, I want to do this and kind of and raise awareness, kind of use a network, get the Lead the Way Fund in front of a group of people that have really never heard about it.
Yeah.
So it's fresh, it's new. The foundation's been around for more than a dozen years, 13 years, 14 years, back to 2007. And, it's just one of those things that they saw it. Jill Brodsky in particular was who I reached out to. And she said, oh yeah, like, thanks. You got it. You hit the nail on the head. Like, and here's our any time, any place, any race page. So if you've participated with Lead the Way on Jimmy's run, you go through that portal. So I got sort of my own page that they authorized I could set up. And, I wrote things down and, it's cool.
Very cool.
maybe I should enhance that page a little now since it's over. But yeah, it was the timing of it all was just the way it all came together, and experiencing 9/11, both the final hike and summit, and then my kids had soccer, so I had to get back for that. I actually squeezed in the hike and soccer, and then I'm at home and I'm watching some of these 9/11 ceremonies.
Jesus.
And it was extreme. Yeah. It was extremely emotional. I can only imagine what folks are still going through a lot these days. Looking back to that tragic day, and it was very real. So anything we can do, right, that helps folks like that, or those that decided to volunteer and serve after in the war on terror, or what was it, Operation Enduring Freedom, all of that. So
it's like, John,
it's just, it means so much to me.
You have we talked the other day, you're kind of in between career ideas, right? And you had some extra time on your hands and you made like the most of it. You're a great father. And my dad always used to say, charity starts at home. And I think by the way that you operate and the way that your parents parented you, helped instill in you this idea of giving. But once if you have some extra time at the home, and then charity can go outward. And you took advantage of some freedom that you might have had in your life, and didn't just sit inside like you said, or I can do some home improvements. I mean, the home could always be better or whatever, but kudos on to you for taking advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah, and let me also give thanks to everyone that gave, no matter the amount. Seeing your names, seeing the support, that just meant so much. I actually received another gift last night. It was from a neighbor. We saw each other. I was out mowing the yard, waved to him, and all of a sudden I see his name pop up there.
Yeah.
I mean, people gave in different amounts. They gave what they could, and for that I'm very thankful. So
absolutely. And you know what, the giving, it's not over. If anyone else, you want to give, that, check out the link. It's going to be associated with this podcast when it's posted. So check it out. To toot John's horn, he's not going to do it for his goal was 10,000 and he exceeded that in spades. So awesome stuff, dude. You're going to Florida.
I am,
with the fam.
Long weekend with the family. Take advantage of some kids being off school.
Yeah.
Half day today and tomorrow. So
have fun, brother.
Thank you.
It's
thank you.
You're welcome. Remember that song?
Lou Graham.
All right, good chit chatting with you, John, and keep spreading the good news and spreading the love, brother. Keep smiling.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me on. I love you, man.
Love you too.
We go back a ways.
That's the Garish Suite down there where you're hanging out right now, right?
That's Potential. Right. You're gonna be here. Yeah, you're gonna be here. I want to have you.
I love it. All right, Johnny. Have fun, bro.
Okay.